What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Alphonso Speaks, and welcome back to the Darrell Brooks trial. Took a few days off, did a live stream live from Waukesha. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. And hey, go Pack Go, right? We're in the playoffs, baby. Let's get it. That's why I was up there in the first place. Annual Lambeau trip. Go every year with my boy Jerry Davis. And this time we decided, hey, let's go ahead and do a live stream tour through Waukesha and show you guys the parade route, where the car was hidden, where Darrell Brooks was arrested, and eventually where he was tried and sentenced to life in prison. So if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you go do that. Live from Waukesha live stream. Okay, it's available now for you guys who did not catch it while it was live. Now we're back, of course, with day 3 of the trial. But before we get into that, housekeeping, Kenichi Bear Headphones. You guys already know I'm not going to go an episode without saying it. Use promo code Alphonso, all caps, ALPHONSO. Save yourself 15% on a brand new pair of Hibernation 5C headphones like the ones that you see on my head during the video. Okay? And, I do identify by that name, and I do know that individual, and you all have the subject matter jurisdiction to get yourself a brand new pair of Hibernation 5C headphones. Okay, let's get into this, guys. It's been a while, but, I mean, it feels like it's been a while, but it hasn't really been that long. It's just been a few days, but it's a long few days. We have officially crossed the 2,000 subscriber mark, and as of the recording of this video, we are at 2,325 subscribers. So just like that, we're almost to 3,000. Like, you guys are incredible. So let's go ahead and get into this. Of course, you guys already know how we do here. 1.25. Let's get it.
First of all, he did not write a case caption on any of the subpoenas, which I guess is not surprising. The case number is there, so I don't think that's a major concern. But for most of the individuals on the bottom half of the form, he indicated that the witnesses are required to bring with them something, and usually he would write all police reports or your sworn statements and police reports, things like that. That is improper to direct these witnesses to bring these items. They are not the records custodians. They do not have access to these things, and I do not want to have these subpoenas served in this format, as I think it would result in confusion to the witnesses. So I don't know if they could be reissued, removing that, or what the court would recommend, but it's not appropriate to tell a witness to bring all police reports to the trial. Mr. Brooks?
Like I said, it's well on the record that I've never had to fill out subpoenas before. I don't understand how they're supposed to be filled out correctly. That's why I stated that any assistance that I can get would be of great benefit to me, because I have never done this before. So I didn't know if I was supposed to fill out that box, if I wasn't supposed to fill out that box. It was the same thing with the date. That's why I kind of left that blank, because I was unsure of what I was supposed to do. I was just kind of filling out what made sense to me to fill out as the person that would be wanting the subpoena served. So I'm not understanding what I did wrong.
Well, first of all, you do need to include the case caption. Whether you agree with it or not, sir, that is the case caption in this case. So
What
it
is
should.
the case caption? I'm not sure what the case caption is. I was basically writing the Waukesha Parade case, because, I mean, the only time I've ever been referred to anything with caption is sort of like when you take a picture on social media or something and it has caption, and you kind of just refer to whatever the picture is
Sir,
about.
do you know some of the legal documents that I've given you from this case? For example, the motion for other acts evidence, and then your then attorney's response to that. At the very top, there's a case caption. It's where it reads, State of Wisconsin versus Darrell E. Brooks. Okay, so it has the plaintiff, it has the V or VS for versus, and then it has who the defendant is. Frankly, doesn't matter if you write in plaintiff or defendant. I'm more concerned about the other indicators that I've just said. And so that will need to be added to your subpoenas. And then in terms of the issue raised by the state, it is true that individuals who would have provided police statements, meaning a statement to the police, whether written or verbal, all of that information and those documents that go along with those that information would be in the custody of the Waukesha Police Department or any other police agency that may have made a report that's referenced in it. So most of them I would presume were done by officers with the City of Waukesha Police Department or detectives. And so the individuals were, at least as far as I can tell, that are citizens, where it says sworn statement and police reports. If what you are looking for are copies of their statements to police, I presume you have that in discovery. If you're looking for any other sworn statement, I think you would need to be more specific. You don't want to confuse the witnesses, but the fact remains, sir, you're the one filling out these subpoenas, and if there's something specific that you want, then you should include that. Whether the individual who comes to court either understands what you're looking for, or whether they have that in their possession is probably a different topic entirely.
I guess I was just filling it out by what, I mean, like I said, I've never had to do this before, so I was just kind of filling it out by what made sense to fill it out. I didn't want to leave too much blank, and so I just filled it out by as best that I could. Would it please the court if I could fill them out properly and resubmit them?
Absolutely. I'm going to just print off a basic pleading that's in the file already. It happens to be the one I pulled up, defendant's witness list, not yours, but was filed by your prior counsel. I'm going to print that off so that you can see where it says State of Wisconsin, Circuit Court, Waukesha County, and then Branch 2, and then that just indicates that we're in the state of Wisconsin. It's the Circuit Court as opposed to an appellate court. It's Waukesha County as opposed to one of the other 71 other counties. And then Branch 2 is a specific branch in Waukesha County. And then again, the caption underneath is State of Wisconsin versus Darrell E. Brooks. That should be included on your subpoenas. It does have the case number, so that's good. Your penmanship is very meticulous. You have the date and time.
What did she mean by that? What did she mean by his penmanship is very meticulous? Like, is she throwing shade there, or is she like giving a compliment? I don't know. You guys let me know. That word's kicking my butt right now. So let me know what you guys think she meant by your penmanship is meticulous.
Time and the judge. There is a spot for on behalf of. You can put, since you're issuing them, you can put either defendant or the name that you want to indicate on that.
Can I put the name that I identify under since I'm third party?
You can, if you put that name, that's fine. I think it's pretty clear. These are not being issued by the state of Wisconsin, for example, or on behalf of like the district attorney's office. So that's fine.
He's killing me with that third party intervener stuff. Like, what do you mean you're the third party? Like, I find funny he keeps asking where the plaintiff is. Where's the plaintiff? Where's the plaintiff? Where's the plaintiff? Well, the plaintiff is the state of Wisconsin because they're representing the victims, right? But you keep saying you're a third party intervener on behalf of your client. Well, where's your client? Where is he? Where is he? You keep asking where the plaintiff is. Where's the defendant? Where is he at? Doesn't the defendant have to be a living, breathing human being? Where's the defendant? Where is he?
And then again, if you want to redo, we'll give you, do you have new forms, Madam Clerk? So we can, do you have extras?
Sitting right here.
What was that?
Not sitting right here.
Okay. Do you have any extras? I know we've given you a bunch, or do you need new forms?
I really only brought the ones that I was required to turn in today.
That's okay. What we'll do is we'll make sure on the next available break, I'll have my clerk count off how many there are. We'll get them reprinted. I think they keep forms in the clerk's office, and then put the date on, and then you can fill them out again, and then we'll hand them back over to the state. Do you intend these subpoenas to be the equivalent of your witness list, or were you going to file something separately?
I was intending for this to be my witness list. I think that would probably be easier.
Any objection from the state?
No, we understand. I think we've been given fair notice, Your Honor.
Okay.
We have some other challenges on some of these subpoenas, not again that we need to necessarily address right now, but I would like to advise the court and the defendant that he's requested a subpoena for a person identified as Sammy Fleischman. We have learned that Ms. Fleischman has relocated to the state of Texas Therefore, we will not be able to secure her appearance here at the trial on behalf of Mr. Brooks. If he wishes to make arrangements for transportation for Ms. Fleischman, he may do so himself. Ms. Fleischman, it is my understanding, was the woman who organized the parade, or was one of the people that organized the parade, but that's how she's identified in the reports, and therefore her relevance may or may not be an issue as well.
All right, did you hear the state advise you of that?
Yeah, I wouldn't even begin to try to know how I can do something like that from a jail cell. I'm pretty much broke.
Well, you're advised, though, if she's out of state, there's other procedures would have to be followed, and the state is not obligated to make those arrangements since it's an out-of-state witness at this point, okay? Did you hear me say that?
I follow.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the subpoena list?
I mean, there's others that we have objections to, but I don't know if you want to address that right now, Your Honor.
Well, I'd like to have you put them on the record so that Mr. Brooks knows, and if he wants to respond now, that's fine. Otherwise, we can take it up a little bit later.
The other two would be Erica Patterson and Detective Steve Guthian, as they have already testified and were subject to cross-examination. We would request an offer of proof as to what relevant testimony, if any, they may offer. And then there was one of the parents of the victims, Kathleen Urell. She was not present at the parade, and it's really unknown what type of testimony he would want to elicit from her. So we would be requesting an offer of proof to establish the relevancy of those witnesses, Your Honor.
Do you want to address that now or have an opportunity to think about that and address it perhaps at the end of the day?
It's really nothing to think about. I think it's pretty clear. They are, besides Ms. Patterson and Detective Guth, I mean, as far as with them, I think it would be relevant because we have paperwork that was filed by the district attorney about there being no factual basis nor no domestic violence incident on November 20th, which they testified to. I think that that's perjury. So that should be.
Well, you're giving me an argument, I guess, on the relevance of their testimony, sir, but as I recall the testimony, you are the one asking the questions about the 20th. The state dismissed that charge. I granted that request to dismiss it. There's nothing that you are bringing to my attention that I can tell would be perjury, but I don't know if what you're trying to tell me is you'd like to question them about their credibility because that charge, explain to me a little bit further.
It would be a lot to do with credibility and also a few questions that I believe would still be relevant to even the events of the 21st. There's still some relevant things that I feel should be answered, that I feel the jury deserves to know.
Well, I'm going to give him some leeway. He's a pro se defendant. He has a right to call witnesses. These are two witnesses that testified. He did have the opportunity to cross-examine them, but I think it's reasonable for him to want to question them further, and I'll keep them on your witness list and instruct the state to assist as they have already offered. What about this Kathleen Urell? I know she's on their potential witness list that was filed.
I apologize for interrupting, but I did misspeak. She was at the parade, but she cannot testify to anyone being struck or injured by the SUV other than her own children that she learned after the fact. And she cannot identify the driver.
All right, Mr. Brooks?
There's still relevancy there. She was at the parade, and as we just heard right now for the record, that she would be directly affected by it, by her family being victims in the matter. Also, she gave statements and she filed a report. I feel like her testimony would be relevant to the matter.
All right, I'll keep her on the list as well.
Oh man, the little victories there. Back-to-back victories for Darrell Brooks. Wow. Probably feeling really good about himself. He just beat Sue Hopper in a little mini battle. Remember, trial is war. And there's a bunch of battles in between the war. And Darrell Brooks, sometimes during this trial, will win a couple of them. Not a lot, but a couple of them. And here's a couple of big victories for him. He gets to call back Erica Patterson. That was the number one victory for Mr. Brooks. Number one victory for him. Getting a chance to control Erica and her time one more time. Very interesting. Let's see what other legal arguments we have going on here.
Anyone else on the list of subpoenas?
No, Your Honor, we'll just await to receive the corrected subpoenas and then we will endeavor to have them served.
All right, thank you.
Just
Thank you.
one thing real quick, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
And if I'm misspeaking right here, feel free to correct me. You said something to the effect about getting more paperwork in during the lunch hour. What was that referring to?
I
Was that
believe
to
it was
subpoenas?
referring to a witness list, if you had one, but what you're indicating is you'd like the grouping of subpoenas and the witnesses who are identified to be reflective of your witness list without finding an independent witness list.
Well, I missed this subpoena. It's only one, but I would have to change it because it was filled out in the same way as the other ones. My mistake for missing it. I got a lot of paper.
What's
here.
the name on it?
Catrice Babayis. I don't know. It's spelled.
All right,
I don't want to butcher it.
That's okay, hand it to the bailiff and then I'll take a look at it.
It's filled out in the correct. The incorrect, just like the other one. So I would have to essentially change it. But I just wanted that for the record that was lurking in my paperwork.
That's okay, thank you for providing that. The last name is Babiiaszz.
Yes, we're familiar with that witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we'll add that to the list. State still have the originals that I handed over to you.
I do.
All right, why don't we give all of those back to Mr. Brooks so that he has those, including the one in my hand. We'll make sure he gets new forms. And then if you could just make sure you provide those at the end of the day today, or by the end of the day.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to fill all those out on a break.
If need be, I'll let you sit here at the end of the day until you get them filled out, so make sure the state gets them right away. Okay?
I can try to knock out as many as I can during the breaks to make it easier.
We'll give you time.
I'm not sure that,
We'll give you time. Don't worry about it. All right, anything else from the state?
No, thank you.
Mr. Brooks, anything else from you?
Yes. At this point, I'm probably beating the dead horse, but I just have to stay for the record anyway. I would like to direct Your Honor to, I believe it's Milo versus United States, 505 F2D 1026. Are you familiar with that, Your Honor?
Not off the top of my head, but I can pull it up.
And also Higgins versus Levine, 415 US 533. And those cases are being brought up because of the continuing asking of me about the jurisdiction that I've been challenging. I believe they're very, very relevant to this matter.
Could I ask Mr. Brooks to repeat those numbers again?
For both,
Yes, please.
for Milo, I believe it is, or it might be Milo, but Milo.
M-I-L-O?
Milo?
Is it M-I-L-O, the spelling?
M-E-L-O.
Oh, I had it right the first time. Okay.
505 F2D 1026. And Higgins versus Levine, 415 US 533.
Anything specific you want to draw my attention to?
Well, there's cases that challenge the jurisdiction, which I've been doing, challenging the jurisdiction. Milo versus United States states once jurisdiction is challenged, the court cannot proceed when it is clearly appears that the court lacks jurisdiction. The court has no authority to reach merits, but rather should dismiss the action.
For the record, Mr. Brooks, the Higgins versus Levine is 415 US 528. Perhaps
Whoa.
you're drawing my attention to page 533, but the site for the case is 415 US 528.
That could be so. I apologize if I'm stating it wrong.
What about the other
I
case?
believe it's, well, The information I have is 533. That states the law requires proof of jurisdiction to appear on the record of the administrative agency in all administrative proceedings. We have yet to prove the jurisdiction. It has yet to be proven.
The funny part about this whole section of his legal arguments is that if you ask him to break down what exactly those cases were about, what they mean, all that stuff, he wouldn't be able to do it. He is literally just taking one sentence from both of them and trying to run with it and make a legal argument about subject matter jurisdiction and why they should set him free. But the court has subject matter jurisdiction. Like, if they don't have subject matter jurisdiction in this, what do they have subject matter jurisdiction in, Darrell? You don't know, because you're not a lawyer and you don't know the law.
I've filed a motion. I've stated on the record numerous times.
Well, we know.
I have yet to get an answer.
And you were specifically referring to the documents you filed on October 3rd.
I've been challenging jurisdiction since the beginning of trial, probably as far back as when I became a pro per defendant myself. Also, you can look at U.S. versus Lopez. We can look at, I think that's from, it may be from 1995.
Do you have a citation?
Just really quick.
Again, guys, this is early in the trial. If you guys have watched the trial, you know, as it continues to go on, you know that, like, eventually she just stops addressing this. But, like, since it's so early in the trial, she's like, okay, I'm going to address this. You know, eventually she ends up giving him, you know, a written decision that he tears up. We'll see all of that. But, yeah, this is, Don't get mad at Judge Darrell right now for entertaining this. Like, remember, this is very early in the trial. Like, she's still filling him out, trying to understand. This was a 3-week trial, right? And this is week number 1. We have a long way to go. And this is like, you know, she's trying to ensure that she's not just shutting down his legal arguments. Because again, as many of you know, the appeal process, like, she was trying to make sure none of this trial could get appealed. None of this trial could get, you know, broken down. And, you know, there was nothing that could end up setting this monster free. So right now she is entertaining the subject matter jurisdiction stuff. But I mean, like, hey, why not? It's day 3, right? And by the way, if I sound a little tired, it's because I am. This was a great weekend, but it was a long weekend. Me and my buddy, we walked all around Chicago. We went up to the Sky Deck. That was terrifying. We went to the Bean. We went to the Field Museum. We walked around Soldier Field. We went to the Art Institute. We did a lot. And then, of course, we went to Green Bay. You know, sat in 20-something degree weather for a few hours. And then I was at the airport all day yesterday. Just got back last night. Back here to Florida, and you know, still catching up on some rest. It was a great weekend though. We did a lot of stuff, and it's catching up to me, right? Like, so after this video, yeah, I'm probably gonna go in my room and take a nap, and then maybe get back up and record another one for you guys, so I can keep bringing this heat for you guys.
I may have to find it in my paperwork for the Lopez.
All right, well, you locate that. When you find it, let me know outside the presence of the jury. I'll take your request under advisement. I'll take a look at these cases. I don't believe they're going to change my previous ruling that the issues that you have raised are without merit, as previously ruled on. But I'll take a look, and if I feel I need to address it further, I'll give you an opportunity to argue.
I believe it should be addressed. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Then with that, we are still going to continue, Mr. Brooks, and we'll bring the jury up. I presume the state has the next witness available.
Yes.
All right, Madam Clerk.
I wonder what he's searching so frantically for right now. I wonder how long this bailiff is on duty, because you know the bailiffs change at some point, and we get everybody's favorite, the stone face guy.
Did you say you thought Lopez was from 1995?
I believe that's the one that he's referring to.
If it's the same case, it's 514 US 549 for the state.
514549?
514 US 549
Thank
in
you.
1995.
Thank you.
See, are we waiting for the jury?
Thank you. The state calls Battalion Chief Jim Hockinson.
Sir,
Jim?
please make your way to the witness stand. When you get there, please remain standing and raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Jim Hockinson.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. When you are seated, please state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Jim Hockinson, Jim Haakenson.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. How are you employed?
I'm employed as a battalion chief shift commander for the city of Waukesha Fire Department.
How long have you held that position?
I've been a battalion chief for 6 years,
How long in total have you worked for the Waukesha Fire Department?
22 years.
Did you have any other type of fire or emergency work before you worked for WFD?
I did. I worked for the city of Pewaukee. I believe I started in 1996.
What kind of things are you responsible for as a battalion chief?
As a battalion chief, I manage the day-to-day operations of an entire shift of firefighters, lieutenants, company officers, those kinds of things.
Could you describe for us in general terms how the Waukesha Fire Department is organized?
Yes, the fire department is organized into 3 separate shifts. These shifts are divided into 5 stations. The stations are strategically located throughout the city to provide response to any area of the city in a very timely fashion. The minimum staffing, meaning the minimum number of people
I'm going to turn this one to normal speed because he talks very fast.
on duty every day is 26 personnel.
Which of the 5 stations is closest to the downtown Waukesha area?
That would be Station 1.
Okay. Can you describe for us the resources that are available at each of the 5 stations?
There are 5 ambulances and either 3 engines and 2 ladder trucks. So at each station there is a heavy piece of apparatus, an engine or a truck, and an ambulance.
Were you on duty working as a battalion chief on Sunday, November 21st of 2021?
I was.
Were you aware that the Waukesha Christmas Parade was going to be taking place that day?
I was.
In your capacity as a battalion chief for the fire department, were you aware of any preparations that had been underway with your department, knowing that that event was going on?
Yes, we had a unit that participated in the parade. We also received an incident action plan from the police department relative to the parade operations.
Your Honor, Exhibit 1 is a map that's previously been admitted and published. I'd ask to publish that again for everybody.
Right hand granted.
Mr. Hockinson, if you'll direct your attention to the screen in front of you, this is Exhibit 1. Do you recognize this exhibit?
I do.
Are you able to point out for us on this map where Station 1 would be, or is it not on the map?
It is not marked on the map. However, it is at the intersection of Fuller Street and St. Paul Avenue.
Could you, it's a touch screen in front of you, could you just draw a little X where the map, where Station 1 would be if the map were a little bigger?
It would be right there.
Oh, I see, okay. And you've used a yellow arrow to designate that?
So it appears.
Gotcha. Were you at Station 1 that day?
I was.
Okay. At what point did your department first respond to a parade-related call for service on the afternoon of November 21st?
We received an alert at approximately 16:39. That's 4:39 p.m.
What was the nature of that alert?
Initially, it was an unknown problem, but given radio traffic that we had heard, we assumed it to be a vehicle versus pedestrian.
Okay, and what did your department resources do in response to getting that alert?
Everyone immediately assembled and began the response that was dispatched.
Everyone from,
Station 1 at that time.
okay. And what happened next?
En route, we began to hear additional radio traffic to numerous reports of other people being struck. At that point, the dispatcher asked if I would like to upgrade the alarm, which I did, bringing all 5 stations immediately to the area.
Okay. And let me back up for a minute. Before getting a call about pedestrian vehicle.
One person, guys, just keep this in perspective. One person caused 5 different stations to have to send all available personnel to one spot because of all the carnage that one person caused. It's unbelievable.
Did your department respond to any other calls for service within the minutes before that call?
Not that I recall. We prepared to respond based on radio traffic we had heard referencing a call in Frame Park.
Okay, and what was the nature of that call in Frame Park?
On the police dispatch, it sounded as though there was some sort of incident with a man and a knife.
Okay. And what did your department do in response to receiving that dispatch?
We began to move towards the apparatus because we knew that Station 1 would be responding to that.
And did anybody from your department get to that call in time?
No, we were never dispatched to it. By the time we got out to the apparatus bay and to the rigs, we could start hearing the radio traffic regarding the vehicles and the pedestrians, and that was occurring on Main Street downtown.
Okay. Now we'll fast forward again to the point where we left off, where you said you had upgraded the call to all 5 stations, right?
That's correct.
What happened next?
We began our response. Getting to the scene was a bit difficult due to the large crowd of personnel fleeing downtown. Our response route took us right up Barstow to Main Street, and we turned right on the main, and that's when we arrived.
At some point, did you or your department become aware that it was going to require more than just your department's resources to respond to this?
Absolutely. As we began to hear more and more reports coming in from officers on scene, we began to realize the scope of this was exceeding our response capabilities. And at that time, I upgraded the alarm to a Mavis box alarm for life safety.
Can you explain for the jury what a Mavis box alarm is?
Right. Mavis is a system called the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System. And in this system, it is structured so that a pre-designated type and amount of resources come at each level. So for example, this box alarm brought an additional 4 ambulances, an engine, a squad, and 3 chiefs, in addition to all the other resources that were coming.
And is that where the scope of the response stopped?
Absolutely not. As we got on scene and began to triage patients, determining their level of acuity, and certainly over the almost half mile of the parade route where we found them, we realized quickly that this was going to require additional resources, and we upgraded to the second alarm level. I believe it was 4:52 in the afternoon.
Okay, and what resources came with that second box level?
That would be another 4 ambulances, another 3 chiefs, and another fire engine.
Do you recall what municipalities or other partners that you work with were part of that response?
I would do them a disservice and leave them out for sure. There was a total of 15 municipalities that responded, I believe 23 units in totality.
Wow.
The Waukesha Christmas Parade, that's an annual event, is that right?
That's correct.
And have you been the shift commander or battalion chief on duty for that event before 2021?
Yes.
Overruled. He may answer. I believe he answered yes. His answer may stand. Just as a reminder, if there's an objection, wait till I rule. Thank you.
Based on your experience in that position, in terms of public attendance, so the number of people attending the event, where does the annual Waukesha Christmas Parade rank on the large public events that are held downtown each year?
It certainly is one of the largest attended, if not the largest. 4th of July is also very well attended as far as parades go.
Your department and the partners that responded in response to your box alarm procedure, you didn't transport every single victim or person who was struck in the parade incident, is that right?
Objection irrelevant.
Overruled.
That is correct. We did not transport every person. We transported a total of 24 patients.
Do you know how any other people were transported away from the scene?
I believe
Overruled, he may answer.
there were approximately 49 additional patients transported.
What time did your last ambulance leave the downtown area?
The last patient was transported by ambulance from the scene at approximately 17:35, 5:35 p.m.
You guys are hearing ambulances and fire trucks in the background. Again, it's like a common theme of my videos. And I tell you guys every video, I live right next to a main street. And it just is what it is. I can't really do anything about it. You know, people around here can't drive. They're always getting into fender benders, and ambulances are always getting called. Central Florida is one of the most dangerous spots to drive in the world. If you know, you know. If you don't, please be careful when you visit Disney World.
I believe that's all the questions I have for this witness.
All right, do you have any cross-exam?
I do.
Haha, yes, of course you do. And that is why we are going to 1.25 speed, because we ain't got time for your foolishness, Darrell. Get on with it. Get done with it. We don't want to hear it. Let's go.
Did you ever receive, well, first of all, good afternoon, Chief. Did you ever receive any additional information about the man with a knife in Frame Park?
Other than the radio report or the traffic on the radio?
Yeah, other than that.
No, I did not.
To the best of your knowledge, do you recall that ever being taken care of?
I have no. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As far as, do you know if there were any law enforcement that responded to that radio report?
I am unaware of that. I don't have any knowledge of that.
Do you recall, make sure I get the language is correct. Do you recall making a report with Officer Wagner?
I do not.
I could be looking at something prepared by my...
Oh my goodness. He's unprepared. As usual.
To the best of your knowledge, is Dan Rulo a firefighter on Ambulance 51?
Dan Rulo is a member of the department. I do not recall if he was working that day or if he was assigned Ambulance 51 that day.
Do you recall being notified? And I know it's kind of the same question, but it's phrased different than what I'm reading, so I just want to clarify it. Were you notified of a possible stabbing?
Again, the radio traffic I received was an incident possibly involving a knife.
Again, these questions are a waste of time. They don't prove anything for him. They don't build any kind of defense for him. Like, they're pointless questions. Somebody left a comment recently in one of the comment sections underneath one of my videos, and they were like, a theory that people have about Darrell Brooks and his questions is that he just saw every question that his defense team had written down before he fired them, but they were still trying to work on what angle they were going to take for his defense. And because of that, they had a whole bunch of different questions. And that's why he asked so many different questions. Because, you know what? I think we've been giving Darrell Brooks too much credit. Way too much credit. He didn't come up with these questions on his own. That would take too much work. Just like his music isn't even original. He stole his lyrics. He stole the instrumentals. He stole everything. He's stealing the questions from his defense team. He can't even come up with his own questions. I don't even think he came up with the plaintiff questions. Those probably came from Dawn and her boyfriend. Like, none of this is original for Darrell Brooks. He literally leeches on to people, and that's how he gets everything that he puts out. So it would make sense to me, honestly, that these questions are not his questions. Because if these questions were his questions, he would know where he wants them to go. But they're not his questions, so he doesn't really know. He's waiting for a response. I think the only original question he's come up with is it safe to say you hear a horn in this video? That was the one. He wanted a very specific answer on that one. But all these other ones, like, really, he's gonna come up with the question of, are you familiar with this person that works for Ambulance 51? Darrell Brooks ain't coming up with that question. Darrell Brooks isn't even thinking about that. He wouldn't even know to ask a question like that.
Could you clarify what hot wash is?
A hot wash is a term used to discuss events immediately after they happen. It's typically done after incidents of significance to gather as much information as possible immediately after and to see how everybody's doing.
You're boring me,
Did
Darrell.
you respond to the parade route yourself?
I responded to the incident on the parade route. That is correct.
When you arrived to the scene, was there still any immediate danger that you recall?
It was difficult to gauge if there was any immediate danger. Radio traffic on the police side indicated that there had been shots fired, and certainly we had a large number of people fleeing. So that would be a tough question to answer.
Did you receive any information about the shots fired, who they may have been fired by?
I did not.
Did you receive any information that someone may have been injured by the shots that were fired?
I did not receive any information regarding that.
Do you recall who were the first arriving units to the scene?
The first arriving units to the scene were myself, Engine 1, and Ambulance 51.
So it'd be fair to say that you would be B10?
That is correct.
Do you recall where you were positioned at when you arrived?
Yes, we turned right onto Main Street from Barstow, and we ended up probably 50 to 100 feet from that intersection, and I would say southwest of that intersection on Main Street.
Do you recall of any law enforcement attempting to clear the transportation routes?
At one point, I spoke with Sergeant Tokarski and asked him if he could assist me in opening up a route to get to the casualty collection point that we established.
Do you recall any loss of power in the downtown area?
Yes, I believe 1740, so 5:40 p.m., sometime around then. All the lights went out downtown. The downtown area lost power.
Do you recall receiving any information about what may have been the problem with the power?
Not at the time. However, later that evening, it was determined that a power line had gone down due to the high winds that evening.
So to the best of your knowledge, it wasn't due to the incident that you were responding to?
That is correct. I do not believe it was related.
Why would that matter? Why would that matter? Seriously, what? How does that further your defense? What is that? Again, remember what I just said. I don't feel like he wrote any of these questions. These were all written by his defense team. So he's saying all of them, because he's hoping one of them helps him. But like, that question does nothing for you. But then again, you gotta remember too, not only is he just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, but he's also trying to spend as much time as possible with each witness to delay and to get himself more time before he goes to prison. Because again, he's hoping for one of two things. He's hoping that he either goes free due to some type of technicality in one of the witnesses' testimonies or something, or maybe the way that the court handles his case, or he's hoping he gives himself enough time where he just drops dead and doesn't have to go to prison, because he'd rather drop dead than go to prison. But we all know how it ended up.
Do you recall about what time you finally left the area?
I believe we cleared the scene about 6:40, 6:45 p.m.
Do you recall if it was already nightfall by that time that you responded?
Just to clarify, are you asking when we responded or when we left?
Roughly around the time you responded. Do you recall it being nighttime, dusk?
It was not dark outside yet. It was probably close to dusk. I mean, there was still light in the sky.
Definitely nighttime when you left the scene.
That is correct.
Again, what's the relevance? How does that help you?
Did you receive any information about why you needed to respond so quickly to the scene?
I'm gonna have to ask you to clarify that. We were dispatched by our dispatcher to respond to an incident, and in my line of work, that usually means you respond very quickly.
No information was given why you needed to respond so quickly.
Our system is set up so that our calls are triaged and our response levels are triaged accordingly. And in this case, this would have been a priority 1 response or an immediate response with lights and siren.
So it's really just get the call and go.
That is correct.
So to your knowledge, you didn't yet have information about why you needed to respond, but you know it was something that needed to be responded to quickly.
That is correct. We were initially dispatched to an unknown incident, and then it was clarified en route, as I mentioned, when the alarm was upgraded, that it was a motor vehicle versus pedestrian incident.
Sometimes I feel like some of the questions that Darrell Brooks asks are just because he's curious about stuff. He just wants to know how stuff works. It's another way of him wasting time, but I really feel like he's legitimately just like, oh man, I'm kind of interested in how that works. So how does the fire department work? How big is the truck? Which button sprays the water? That's all the things he's thinking in his head.
Motor vehicle versus pedestrian incident. Have you ever responded to any calls like that before?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something about a accident plan, or if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but was that what I heard? An accident plan?
Incident action plan.
Incident, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What does that entail?
It's a plan that's put together usually prior to or during an event that describes how resources are going to be deployed to manage or handle the event.
So it's sort of like just having something in place in case of.
It goes a step further than that. It's a plan that's in place or implemented, for example, in this case, to control access to the downtown area, to identify who was responsible for what tasks, such as clearing vehicles or establishing parade route integrity, those kinds of things.
Outside of the parade incident, to your knowledge, was there any more needed responses to any other incidents that may have been in the area?
While we were on scene at the parade, I believe that we received 2 other calls for service in the city.
To your knowledge, do you recall if they were directly related?
I do not.
No further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Very briefly. On cross-examination, there was reference made to a casualty collection point. Can you describe what that is?
So a casualty collection point is something that's established when there's a mass casualty incident or a large number of casualties or people injured. The goal of it is to get people to a centralized point where they can receive treatment and triage or determining the severity of their injuries so that they can be transported directly from that area. It is the most efficient way to handle a mass casualty.
That's not something that you would set up in a routine pedestrian versus motor vehicle incident. Is that correct?
Objection, you're saying.
Overruled. He may answer.
That is not something that we would normally set up in a pedestrian versus motor vehicle accident.
Can we put Exhibit 1 back up on the screen, please?
Go ahead.
Could you circle for us on the screen in front of you where the casualty collection point was set up here?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled. He may answer.
That is supposed to be the intersection of Clinton and Main.
Okay. And from there, where were the injured people transported to?
From that point, they were taken to 5 area hospitals.
Okay. So not just Waukesha Memorial.
That is correct.
5 different
Waukesha Memorial is
hospitals.
just up the hill off the side of this map, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. What other hospitals, if you recall?
Aurora Summit, Freighter Menominee Falls, Children's Hospital, and Freighter Hospital.
And aside from ambulances involved with your department and the other responding agencies, do you know how else victims were transported from the scene?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled. He may answer. It's not hearsay.
Numerous patients were transported up by law enforcement, bystanders in the parade, and family members.
On cross-examination, in reference to this being a motor vehicle versus pedestrian incident, you were asked whether you'd ever responded to a call like that before, and you said, yes, sir. You remember that testimony?
Yes.
So I'd ask a clarifying question. Have you ever been involved in or directed a response to a motor vehicle versus pedestrian incident of this magnitude before in your career?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
I have not.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You may step down.
Okay, so that was another witness and another frustrating cross-examination from Darrell Brooks. But alas, we have to keep going, guys. We have more witnesses. We have more legal arguments from Darrell Brooks to get through. And you guys have been supporting the channel very, very well. I thank you guys for that. Like, share, subscribe the video. Stay safe, stay blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, woosah, breathe. Breathe. Everything's going to be all right. 1,000 years. Remember, all right? I'll see you guys next time. Peace.